Hey everybody, we're doing another video today about the Reason Plus Algorithm instrument. This is something that I really like, this new instrument. I think there's a lot of power in it. There's really no way to exactly recreate this experience using any of the default Reason plugins, and so I think that it's a great addition to the toolkit. But I wanted to go through and just explain one process or methodology for creating new instruments using this instrument, because I think it can be very intimidating for anyone who wants to actually create something specific with this. It's easy to create sounds that are metallic or bell-like or randomized, but to actually think, here's a sound that I really want, how do I get it? It's possible with this instrument, just like I would do with a subtractive synthesizer or one of the other synthesizers, but it certainly isn't what I would call 100% straightforward. Okay, so what I want to do though is explain this process a little bit. I'm going to reset this patch, right click there, and we'll do the reset device. And I want to start with number 4 here. Actually, I'll start with number 1 here. I want to start with a few others in place though. And you'll see why in a second I'm doing this, skipping number 2. It's more for a visual orientation. Any of these can be assigned in different ways. That's not a big deal. But it sometimes helps if I'm breaking this down visually for you in a way that makes sense. So, and we'll do 2 more here. I'm choosing output for the bottom 3 of these. So what I want to do is have you envision like an acoustic instrument. Say it's like a trumpet or something along those lines that is performed by a musician. We have different parts of the sound happening. So for instance, we have the attack of the sound. It'll have a low sustain. It won't be held out. The attack is just the very initial part. And we'll turn those off for a minute while I hear this. Even shorter maybe. Let's add, so to do complexity, we're modulating the operators against each other essentially. So I'm going to turn up the frequency of the number 4 here. Get rid of any sort of release. So now I'm coming up with this, just this little attack section that's very short. Just like that. So now that's the first phase, the attack. Then I work on the body of this a little bit. And we can do similar thing in terms of complexity. Have it change over time if we want. Maybe something a little lower. And I can actually, if we wanted to, fill in a third one here, but have this coming over to that one instead of going down. So now 7 to 8 to 5. So having 2 of the operators above this output gives you even more of a rich texture. So then we have this attack section, the body section, so now this attack adds that little kind of like the pinprick at the beginning. These 3 are the body, and then what we can do is set up these last ones to be more of a tail. So we can adjust the release so that it hangs out. a little bit of sustain. And if we want to modulate that at all, we can do a similar thing for the tail. More of a subtle in terms of the sustain section, but it's just giving us a little bit of an out. Now we can come through and fill up these last two slots if we want to. For instance, I do like the idea of having a filter that the body of the instrument goes through. So we'll turn that on. Let's turn off the other two for a second while we listen to this. Add a little resonance in there. Okay, so if we turn that off and go out, adding a little bit more edge to it. And so now we've got that controlling the body. We still have this attack, which is by itself with 1 and 4, and we still have this release, which is with 6 and 9. And then if we want to add the shaper or something like that, we could always do that as well. So then have all of these come through here if we wanted to. And then all of them will be shaped, or we could just shape a couple of them if we wanted to. For instance, we could just leave these ones as out and then just do the tail through the shaper, etc. So we have all of this flexibility of putting each of these different phases of the instrument in there. The last thing, of course, would be any of the modulation we want to use. We haven't done anything with it yet. Right now we've just done pure tones. But we can actually assign things like LFO to some of these to create even more interesting sounds if we wanted to. For instance, LFO1, we could assign to, let's see, we'll do the number 7 frequency. So frequency of number 7, that's the top of the body one. And then we adjust the amount. And that's so we can add different characteristics to some of these if we want to. We don't have to do that. It can be, pretty small amount if we just want to add a little touch of it. But now, say we want the attack to sound a little less attacky, if that's a word. It's not, but I can adjust the attack time on operator 1, and that smooths out the beginning. Or I can bring it back a little bit more plucky if I want to, or change the frequency of it to make more of an attack. There's so much we can do, but what I'm doing is thinking about this instrument in terms of the different parts of the sound. 1 and 4, the attack. 7, 8, 5, and 2 are the body. 9 and 6 and 3 in this case are the tail. Now I can do this so that 3 of them are the attack and 6 of these are the body. We don't worry about the tail. or I can do all of them as one. But it's in this method of working with FM synthesis, having a plan like this makes a lot of sense. So that way we can think of it as, what part of the sound are we working on? What part do we want to manipulate or change? And then we can work on creating the sound that we're envisioning in our heads. Okay, that's all I really want to share today, was just this method of working with this particular FM synthesizer. It's a great instrument, and you can see there's a lot of power in it, and I'm excited for continued use. Okay, more videos coming next week. I will talk to you soon.